Go-karts are awesome. A lot of race car drivers start out on them as they start their racing careers, and a lot of people learn to love cars with go-karts. And that's been true for me. I want to be a mechanic, and my dad got me and my brother our first go-kart when I was 5 years old, and really love that go-kart. But after a few years, it just didn't work anymore. We had replaced it, but me and my friends wanted to fix it up, but it was going to be a lot of money, and not really worth it. Here's a go-kart we were using. It was getting a bit small. So we bought this one, and this is kind of the process we took to fix it up. So when we bought it, it was caked in mud and absolutely just covered in all kinds of crud. So we took it to the car wash and hosed it off there, and then we began taking off the parts once we got it back to the house. And it was fairly easy, just undoing some stuff, a few corroded bolts. Then we got to the paint. We put it in a caustic dip, and it removed a little bit of paint, but it just didn't work. They did some weird stuff for that paint. There was a bunch of layers. So I spent about 2 or 3 weeks hitting it with an angle grinder, but I was not making progress, and it would rust up where I'd already hit up. So I took it to get sandblasted, and that worked out pretty good. Yeah. So after that, we started welding up some parts where it rusted out, and again cutting up the rear body where we're gonna put a new engine in it. Repainted the main frame and started putting some suspension stuff back on there. So the engine that came on it was completely seized up, and we had to replace it. So we got a Duramax 440cc Honda clone generator engine. It puts out about 18 horsepower. It's pretty cool. This is us resealing the tires. They were absolutely a pain in the butt to get off the rims, but it was cool getting them back on. Pretty satisfying. So after that, we started painting them. I decided to go with blue to match the engine, and I also designed a little emblem to go along with it for fun, and just repainting it. We had to flip around the sprocket and axle to fit the new engine, so we had to get that machined to fit the sprocket, because we were putting it where the old brake disc was. And we're making room for the engine here because it's going to be a lot taller. Cut that little bit out of it. And after that, I decided I want to put some more emblems on it, get a little bit more blue on the paint scheme. So this is me taking off the painter's tape off of it to show the lightning bolt we put across. Then we ordered the racing seat that we bought for it. The hardware that it came with to attach it to the go-kart didn't work. Like, it was being bad, so I ended up welding it directly in there where it can't move. And here's the engine frame we built for it. We built it to hinge up and down so we can tension the chain. And here's us welding in the bracket to keep the brake caliper on the disc. Got the engine attached for the first time. That was pretty exciting. And also we got the steering reattached. This is where we got the rear frame painted for the first time. It had been primed, but this was the first time we got paint on it. After we got the engine back on, we started to work on the throttle setup, and it was a bit of a difficult thing. We had to redo this 3 or 4 times because we couldn't figure out if we wanted to use the existing throttle stuff or set up something completely different. But we got it figured out and started running, so we went for a test drive, and that clutch burned out. We couldn't get it to drive the go-kart at all, so we bought this torque converter, and it is a different alignment to the chain, so we ended up having to cut the old frame off and start again. I ended up having to cut the frame hinges off twice and make new hinges for it. When I went to re-weld it back in, I shifted the engine on accident and completely threw the thing out of alignment. So I ended up having to go through this process twice, which was pretty frustrating, but we got it done. Got some the harness put in place, so that way if we ever get in a wreck, we'll be safe. And that was fun getting that in there. Could strap myself in for the first time. So this was our first test drive with the new torque converter, and I had a whole thing like it was going to be this big epic moment. But as I drove it down the hill here, the chain popped off right as I went to hit the gas, and you'll see that just now. Yeah, I was pretty bummed out. What ended up being the problem was the torque converter didn't leave enough room for the chain, so we had to cut on the torque converter, like trim it down. And this was the second test drive. It was not very fast, but I went into this turn, and the oil splash sensor made the engine just completely die. So after that, we cut off the governor and fixed the oil splash sensor, but the engine frame was not strong enough, so it ended up bending under the pressure. So once again, I'm gonna have to chop off the rear hinges and all that. And while all this was happening, our battery-powered angle grinder died, so I ended up having to use this older one. But it got the job done, probably faster, but a little bit out of my normal. So we got the engine back on there. It was all good. Then the torque converter's clutch that came with just completely died. Like, it blew up. So had to wait for a few months on back order, but we got this new one, and it works just fine. So finally finished.